Hey everybody, Rachel here with Givebutter. Thanks for joining for another success story. Today we are featuring NAMI Nevada. They raised over $66,000 for their Drive to Thrive virtual event aimed to support individuals who are affected by mental illnesses by providing education, support, and advocacy. If you are looking for inspiration for your virtual event, this one is going to be perfect for you. I have Robin here with me who's going to share why they turned to Givebutter as well as tips, tricks, and lessons learned along the way. Robin, thank you so much for joining and sharing your success story today.
Thanks for having me.
Excited to dive in. To start, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, your role with your organization, and for those who aren't familiar with the NAMI at large, like what are you all about? What do you do? And then how is your state unique?
So again, I'm Robin Reedy. I am the executive director of NAMI Nevada. We are the statewide organization, and we're derived from the national organization. So there's a national NAMI, there's NAMI Nevada. You can say it both ways, NAMI, NAMI, and you'll hear me saying it both ways all the time. And then underneath, and it's not truly underneath, but we have affiliates that put on education classes and support groups. In Nevada, we have 3 affiliates, but each state has numerous affiliates that then put on education classes and support groups for people not only want, but need to learn more about mental health. So family members will come and take a family to family class. It's a 5-week class, a couple hours a week, and learn about the diagnosis, about the behaviors, how to de-escalate situations, the medications, the side effects of the medications. And most importantly, they're in a class with other people who are dealing with the same issues. So they get the lived experience and ideas of what went on in other families, because really people start feeling alone. Aren't we all feeling alone during this pandemic? And that's one of the issues going on now. Mental health needs are increasing, but the funding for mental health has always been iffy. In Nevada, we are 51. We are dead last in services to the mentally ill. So last year, our funding basically got cut in half for providing our services. And understand that all the services we provide are at no cost to the individuals. So we have support groups across the state. With COVID, we've flipped all of those things onto Zoom and virtual. I see as COVID gets remedied that we'll probably have a mix of things going online and then in person. Obviously, we want to do more in-person stuff because that's what people need. But everyone's feeling alone. Everyone feels like they're the only one going through something like this. And so those connections with other people are so important. Our support groups, we have support groups for peers, people who live with a mental health condition. And so only peers will go to the one support group. But we also have family support groups so that family and friends, people who support peers, can go to another support group. And again, learn what works for other people, learn what lawyers work if you're looking in terms of guardianships or whatever, learn what services are out there. And in Nevada, more importantly, the only thing that fills the gap, because we're number 51, is all those nonprofits out there, depending on your geographic region. So we have a couple really densely populated areas in Nevada, and the rest are rural and frontier communities where they're lucky if they can get on a Zoom meeting. So, getting all of that foundation to be able to do this is expensive. The books are expensive. The trainings are expensive. We have very little staff, but, we have to pay some people to keep things going, mostly volunteer. And when our funding got cut so significantly, and in fact, that's part of the problem. In Nevada, funding gets cut every time there's an economic downturn. And the only places the state can take general fund money from is Health and Human Services or education, both of which really need their money, especially during downturns in the economy.
Right.
So we're working to advocate at the state level with our legislature and with decision makers across the state to put in policies and programs that work and can work as efficiently as possible. none of that is free when it comes to the costs involved. And so that's why we were doing the fundraiser.
Well, thank you so much for the critical work that you're doing right now. Can you tell us a little bit more about your Drive to Thrive fundraiser?
Well, late in 2020, certainly after we knew that we were getting funding cut and that we were going to have to be doing something, we were looking at ways to raise money. And one of the groups in the Reno area, and I'm at a loss for the name of the group, but they did a fundraiser and they raised over $100,000. So we reached out to the people who were doing that fundraiser to learn from them. How did you do that during a pandemic? 100,000 is a really good number. And I will tell you, I've worked for a
Mm.
lot of places and I've volunteered for a lot of places and I've raised money for a lot of different efforts, including political ones. The hardest thing to raise money for is mental health. It's almost like people think that if they do that, that somehow they will get tainted by the mental health curse and something, I mean, this kind of belief that if we don't talk about it, it won't happen to us. It's a tough gig to raise money for.
Mhm.
They were raising money for food, and I have raised money for food organizations, and so I fully expected us not to be able to raise as much money as they did. Um, so we were recommended to go to the Givebutter site. I had never heard of it. So we got connected with the Givebutter site and we educated our board members on how to sign in and kind of hopefully compete with each other on the Givebutter site. And a couple of people did in fact compete with each other. They'd see someone else making a donation, then they'd go out and get another donation and that worked. But the people we worked with who helped the other organization to raise the $100,000, helped us educate the board members, educate me on how everything worked, and doing a lot of work to get money beforehand. So having that number, and again, I come from kind of a marketing background myself. So having that number initially in the system saying we've already raised this much, our goal is this, and I do think I probably figured low at the 40,000, but given the environment, I wasn't comfortable in picking a higher
Mhm.
number. Now in hindsight, I almost wish I would have said, let's have a goal of 100,000 because maybe people would have worked harder to get toward that. But we did
Mm.
get the 66,000. I am hoping by the end of this, we will have over 70,000 as a goal. And that's a good quarter of what we had lost. So we're ahead of the game by quite a bit now. And we would certainly do it again. We would certainly do if we ever get into a gala type function to where we're having in person. I think I would then marry the two together so that again, it's easy to send this information out and interact with people. It's easy to see who you're giving to if you have a certain person you want to, get credit for the giving. And it was easy for me to see that I was raising more money than the rest of the board, so I can hold that over their head.
Exactly. I'm just going to share your beautiful fundraiser here so everybody who's watching can see what we're talking about here. You were just mentioning crediting, which is, how we would do that right here. Very simple in the first step. Your campaign was just so beautifully designed. So did you hire outside help to design and write your campaign, your fundraiser, and pull off
We
like the live
did.
part of
It-
it? Okay.
yeah, it was part of the team that worked with the other organization, but these people also knew members on our board. They did charge a fee, but it was fairly insignificant relative to the whole. But we also knew that this was going to be an annual event, so that we were
Mhm.
investing in logos and wording and things like that that we could easily then use out into the future on our own. So I absolutely think it was
Mhm.
worth the investment. I think in total between the marketing group and then the PR group, because we also employed a PR group that could that worked well with all the local um, stations, radio, television, things like that. We got far more PR than I could have gotten on my own, and for a fairly insignificant price. I think in all our expenses were about 7,000 over that, and we started this in like October, and then we actually had the
Mhm.
event in January. So in that lead time leading up, we were able to do a lot of television, a lot of radio, a lot of in-print, letters to the editor type things. So, and I know that was significant because I could see the increased activity on our name, on our website, on our social media sites. So I knew, and people just coming up to me, I knew that, you know, this PR was working, that it wasn't just thrown away money. And we're a nonprofit, so we're not into throwing away money. So all of those
Right.
decisions were very critical. So if you can find someone who has those talents, believes in the cause, and is willing to, you know, give you a discount in getting this stuff out, it helps in the long term. Because I've now met a lot of the PR people with the television stations. I was able to talk to them, and since then I've even gotten calls on mental health topics to get continued uh, PR with
Wow.
them. And you know, one of the things I've told all of them as I met them, you ever need, you know, you got 2 minutes and you need a story, I can come up with one, because mental health crosses every section.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And I can really see that you invested in this campaign and invested well. And I love the mentality you're bringing into that because I think in the nonprofit space, we can be so shy about investing in our fundraising campaigns because we want to see 100% of the funds raised go straight back in. But you have to invest to be able to get that high level of commitment from all of your supporters, like you so beautifully have. I'm wondering as we look at this, do you have any other Givebutter tips, tricks, or lessons learned? I know this was your first time doing a fundraiser like this with Givebutter, right?
Right. It was. I think for our next one, and there will be another one, that I will push even more of my board members to participate. I found it difficult to be able to sit with these very busy people and get them on, you know, because they sit there kind of frozen in front of a site, and what do I do? But the people who were able to get on were people that I spent time with. And in fact, in some cases, I just said, okay, I can hook it up. I can get it connected and send you the password, and then they could go forth and do it. Again, we will have some continued fundraising based on this. We have a board member who's planning their own little cigar bar event that's out there,
Nice.
and to do stuff. So the Las Vegas Circus Center that you're seeing on the page, they in Las Vegas, I didn't even know this existed. They have what's basically a gym, but the gym is designed for people who do high-end shows in Las Vegas, like the Cirque du Soleil. So there are all these performers that come into this gym to do trapeze work and do all of that kind of work there. Didn't even know it totally makes sense that it exists. Didn't even know it existed. He saw the Givebutter fundraiser on one of the social media. He reached out to me. He had an online show with all of this talent, and then streamed it for a fee. And that's the Las Vegas Circus Center donation, was people who attended that, people who performed in it, people who paid to watch it online, and sent us the money, the $13,000. But it was all for NAMI Nevada. And again, it was just seeing the Givebutter um, logo and all that on our website when he was searching mental health. Sadly, he was searching for mental health issues because, you know, all of these performers are not working. all of these performers are now,
Yeah.
haven't been working for well over a year, and that creates an unknown, anxiety, depression, things we talk about in the Drive to Thrive video.
Hmm.
And they did lose someone to completing suicide. And that's sadly what drove him to our Drive to Thrive. And so that,
Wow.
is based on a very sad occurrence, but that occurrence is so possible across our United States right now. This has gone on for so long, and while there might be a light at the end of the tunnel, some people have just stopped looking for that light. So again, whenever we're talking about mental health issues, anxiety and depression, a much larger segment of our population, we say 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 people experience this in their lifetime. I hesitate to say that that's a much larger number right now. And people have to work on
Mhm.
doing things, connecting with other people through telephonic means, um, talking
Mhm.
to your doctors, talking to your friends and family, doing things that bring you contentment, whether that's sitting with a pet, whether that's walking outside, whether that's playing a game, but and kind of staying away from some of this negative news that we're hearing. And if you feel like this is affecting your life, you really need to talk to someone, whether that's a friend, whether that's NAMI, or whether that's your own personal physician. Telehealth is happening. They can get on the phone with you. But if you find yourself being a different person, know that this is a temporary thing, but get help for it now.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yes. Give Butter fam, all of you that are watching, you are not alone. So last question here. I am wondering, what do you think is the future of fundraising for NAMI? What you mentioned it a little bit, like you have a board member who's going to be using Givebutter, but what do you think is the future? Is it hybrid? Is it totally virtual? Like, where do you see things heading in 2021 and beyond for your organization?
Um, I think initially people will want to be going to things and doing stuff that they haven't been able to do. All those people who always complained about going to all these fundraisers and
I
that
know,
will
right?
probably be excited to put on makeup and go out and do these things, right?
Mhm.
But I think some of the tools that we've gained through this we'll use at the fundraiser itself,
Yeah.
whether it's walking around with our phone and collecting donations at the fundraiser itself. But I also think there'll be a significant amount. I know right now I'll be looking after this fundraiser to do another type of fundraiser for one of our affiliates, which will be kind of a TikTokish streaming thing to get attention
Oh,
to a program that they're doing. And we're going to be approaching first responders to try to do something with that and raise money for our crisis intervention training and warm lines, because those are crisis lines. And
yeah.
kind of doing something like that, and every dollar that's given toward whatever they're streaming, that is a vote. So let's see who in the state will end up with the NAMI Nevada prize, whatever that ends up being. So I do think it will be still a lot of online work, and we're just going to have to get comfortable with that. I'm really open to online and technology.
Mhm.
For someone my age, I think very open. I was surprised at how easy it was for me to take that Givebutter link. And, on a Saturday morning, I'm lying in bed, I pull out my phone and I start pulling up people I recently texted, because those are the people that, connect with you on a daily basis, and started sending that link out to the people that I recently connected with in my texts. And, it seems insignificant now compared to the 66,000, but I probably got about $300 in an hour that morning just texting the link to my friends.
Mm.
And it was, some were business associates, some were friends, but people I texted to very recently. So $20 here, $25 there, eventually it adds up.
Absolutely, absolutely. So fascinating to think about the future of fundraising after all we've walked through in the last year. Love hearing your thoughts, Robin. Congrats on your incredibly successful fundraiser. We wish you and your organization all the best this year and beyond. We can't wait to see what's next for you.
I'm excited. Change can be good.
That's right. And thank you to everybody else who is watching and following along. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Givebutter's YouTube channel. If we didn't ask something that you wanted Robin to answer, just comment below and we'll try to get back to as many of you as we can. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next week for another incredible success story. Until then, happy fundraising.